Thank you for watching Life in Law with David and Ella Ham. This podcast is for general informational, educational, and entertainment purposes only and is not legal advice. David Ham is a Florida licensed attorney and member of the Florida Bar. Ella Ham is not an attorney and serves as the non-attorney office manager of Ham Law. Listening to or interacting with this podcast does not create an attorney-client relationship, and prior results do not guarantee a similar outcome. This podcast may be considered attorney advertising, and the hiring of a lawyer is an important decision that should not be based solely upon advertisements.
Hello everyone, and welcome to another episode of Life Law with David and Ella Ham. My name is Ella Marie Ham. I am the Director of Operation of the Law Offices of David Lee Ham Jr. PA.
And I'm Attorney David Lee Ham Jr. Happy to be here on this episode of Life and Law Podcast.
David is the Managing Attorney of the Law Office of David Lee Ham Jr. PA. Today's topic is about professional licensure. Whether if you're a doctor, a nurse, a dentist, real estate agent, accounting, a teacher, cosmetologist, etc. So a complaint against your license can be very dramatic can be very bad to your license.
That's right, Ella. Not everybody who's watching or viewing right now may have a professional license, but practically everybody knows someone who is. It may be your spouse or it may be your cousin, aunt, or uncle, and it's important because they've put so much into obtaining that license, and it holds their right to continue performing. So
not only that is your education, your experience, not only is your financial, that can be also your financial burden because now you have to hire an attorney to help you with the allegation.
Right. So today's show is going to have wide-reaching authority and appeal.
Remember that today's discussion is just for education purposes only. It's every situation is unique. You're going to have to contact an attorney regarding what's going on in your license, or if you know someone, their license is in jeopardy, they're going to have to hire an attorney for the attorney to help them navigate the situation.
So today, Ella, we plan to discuss protecting these licenses that people put so much work into. We'll discuss the detail of processes that are involved, how those licenses are regulated, and what happens, like you mentioned, when a complaint is filed, what your rights are during the course of an investigation, and common mistakes that professionals sometimes make when faced with an investigation or disciplinary procedure.
I just want to open to say that you have been helping the thing that's going on for the nursing thing. I think they call it Nurse Nightingale in South Florida. You have been helping a lot of nurses. Not everybody's situation are different. Some people just went to the school, they end up being attacked. Can you elaborate a little bit down on that before we go any further?
Well, sure. I'm sure not all of our viewers are familiar with this scenario, but let's take it back to the time of COVID, because a lot of things changed in our lives and in society during the times of COVID. So in the state of Florida, which is a state which receives a lot of people from outside the state for all kinds of purposes, not just for tourism, but for advancing your degrees and for study and training, there are a number of nursing schools that are authorized by the state of Florida to provide training in nursing so that people could obtain their license. Unfortunately, what did start to happen around the time of COVID, where there was a tremendous need for nurses and there was shortages, some people took advantage of an opportunity to create shortcuts that were not legitimate shortcuts to obtaining licensure. And some people, unfortunately, were not aware that these routes were not legitimate. Some people thought that they were participating in valid programs to obtain their license from a distance through distance learning. And unfortunately, that turned out not to be the case. And the consequences and repercussions are widespread, and we're still dealing with those now. So that's a nutshell version of what is going on. Many people are impacted by it, and we've had the opportunity to help some people in that scenario.
Before we navigate or maybe start swimming to the questions people ask, I just want to say that you have helped a lot of people. The office has helped a lot of nurses. Not the same, not every situation are the same. Every cases were completely different. So we have to say we have a very large, successful outcome for most of our clients. Can you agree with that?
I certainly can. Obviously, the nursing profession is very near and dear to our hearts. We've had the opportunity to help many nurses in that capacity. We've also helped a number of people with the other types of professional licenses that you mentioned, real estate licenses, construction, and so forth. So professional licensure is extremely important because these licenses, as you mentioned, are valuable for your livelihood, and there's something that you've put a tremendous amount of effort, energy, work, etc. into.
If you're going through any licensing issue, don't hesitate to give our office a call at 904-307-3888. The number is listed below. We'll be glad to have a consultation with you and then to see exactly how can we do to help. The first question that we have is someone asked, what exactly is a professional license?
Well, that's a very good question. So let's talk about how professions may be different from other types of jobs or work that you have. People in professions usually adhere to some code of ethics. They have additional training and formal education that's required to obtain some type of certificate or a license, usually by the state of Florida. So when we talk about license, it's an authority or authorization to perform or do certain things. And when we talk about these professional licenses, we're usually talking about the state of Florida or some agency of the state of Florida that provides that authority or that license, but they continue to regulate the license. So there's the admissions into the profession, as well as adherence to all the required continuing education, and then if there are complaints against the license, then there may be discipline as well that's brought by that authority.
So we got a two-part question, and someone asked, why do states require professional licenses? And then the other one is, then how can we regulate the professional license here in the state of Florida?
So to answer the first question, that it's almost universal throughout that protection of the public, the consuming public, is the reason why the state or state agency regulates the license. That's why there is a license requirement, so that the public is protected from all of the types of harms that can come about if there was no regulation. Now, the second part of your question was about how can the regulations take place. So that's usually a function of the agency or organization. But let's take, for example, though, the Florida Bar. Obviously, the law license is a highly regulated license, but the difference is not an agency of the state. It's the Florida Bar, which is an organization of all of the licensed attorneys, and we're under the authority and control of the Supreme Court of Florida. And the reason for that is that there's a certain amount of independence that's required in the practice of law, so you can't just be beholden to the state of Florida. So, at any rate, the Supreme Court of Florida determines guidelines and regulations for, first of all, obtaining the license, and then what's required to continue with your continued education, and then all of the conduct is highly regulated.
One thing I can say, the state of Florida for professional licenses such as real estate, cosmetology, and also they are holding by DBPR. And for nurses, maybe they are holding by the Department of Health, right? Is that
Right, so
correct?
for those who aren't familiar with DBPR, as the Department of Business and Professional Regulation, which regulates so much commerce, industry, and professional trade in the state of Florida. And so when you're providing these types of services, you need to understand what are the licenses that are required in order to do so. So that's another point in which you may want to seek out legal counsel to help prepare and ensure that you have the appropriate authority to engage in that business conduct.
So the Department of Health handle all of the
Right, so
license,
the Department of Health includes those healthcare providers
healthcare
as well
provider.
as schools for becoming a licensed healthcare provider. So you have doctors coming under the Department of Health, you have nurses coming under the Department of Health, and you have
Dentists.
the schools themselves, such as nursing schools, coming under the Department of Health. Now, there may be sub-agencies such as the Florida Board of Nursing, for example, which deals more with this specialized area, but it still falls under
The
the Florida
Department of
Department of Health.
I want to mention as well that just because they file a complaint against your license doesn't mean that you are in trouble. So they have to do investigation. So the question is, if I am under investigation with the licensing board, can I still continue working?
Okay, so it sounds almost as if you gave the answer as well as the question at the same time. So I do want to reiterate what you did just say, is that the mere fact that there's an investigation usually is not going to mean that you're unable to practice. However, there are circumstances in which there is a
Immediately.
requirement to protect the public, that there's an immediate cessation required, or there's something in the order to protect the public that you immediately cease
practice.
operations. So that would be that instance. Now, the second part of your question, after continuing
Can you
to
still
practice,
can you still continue working?
yeah, so continuing to work and function is presumed unless there's an order to the contrary stating that you can no longer do so.
So I know that to protect the public, there's a lot of things that can be reason for them to automatically take your license, say immediately suspension. Can you give at least 2, 3 example, if you can, or in your opinion as a practicing attorney, what those 2 or 3 example?
Well, depending upon what area you practice, if you've engaged in some activity which has injured or harmed someone in a substantial degree, and the agency investigating has determined that there is an ongoing risk to the public, then there may well be an order stating not to do so. So examples might be a healthcare provider that is engaging in activities beyond the scope of what they're authorized to do, maybe administering medications they're
Or
not allowed to
sexual
do,
abuse.
or criminal
Criminal
activities such
activities.
as you mentioned, that may present risk to others. But these are things that are determined on a case-by-case basis. Now, some things that are almost certain is when the department can't get a hold of you. If the agency or department is not able to locate you and then is concerned that there may be ongoing activity to protect the public, then they may immediately order a suspension because they haven't been able to locate or talk to you.
So that means the moment you get contacted, you need to respond.
Well, absolutely. You need to determine what is the document, what is the communication, read it through carefully, and at that point get an attorney involved so that you fully understand what is involved. And understand that I'm not saying that your first step is necessarily going to be to contact the investigator and speak to the investigator without having first spoken with an attorney. It's usually going to be in your best interest to first speak through the scenario with an attorney and then decide on the best next step and the best strategy from there.
Usually, when we have a client calling us saying that they have been an investigator just called them, they need. Usually, we tell the client anything you say can be used against you in the court of law. Is that the reason why you don't want them to contact the investigator before they speak with an attorney, or?
Well, the first thing you want to know is why does the government or the agency want to speak with you, and what's at issue and what's at stake. You don't want to be blindsided. You don't want to just go in completely unaware, and the risk at that point and the stakes are just too high if you do that. So the reason why it's more important to listen than to speak, don't just go in and start talking, is you need to know what's what really. What is the scenario we're dealing with? And so the advice is not just true in the criminal context, although that's where Miranda rights apply, and anything you say can and will be used against you. But understand that these proceedings, for the most part, are usually not criminal, although there may be
be
a criminal case connected to it and so forth. So you want to first find out everything that you can find out, and then, especially if there's a situation where you providing information or talking about information may give rise to a criminal case or be evidence that could be used in a criminal case, then certainly you can invoke the Fifth Amendment and not answer. But as a general rule, this is to find out first before you speak.
Okay. Usually, so someone asks, what happened when someone filed a complaint against your licensed professional? And then also see that does every complaint result to discipline?
So, for the most part, in all of these professional licensure cases, the agency that issues the license will then will review the complaint first, and then follow up with an investigation if there's a determination that there is some credible basis for that complaint. Sometimes there's not there's not legally sufficient, or it's not credible information enough to move the complaint any further than that. And so after there is a determination that there is sufficiency, an investigation will begin. And no, not every complaint will result in discipline. Along the course of the investigation, due process requires that you have a notice and an opportunity to be heard. So the investigator may reach out to seek your version of the events. That's your opportunity to present the evidence. Sometimes it's a misunderstanding. Sometimes the consumer sees things one way, but you may have the facts and the documentation to demonstrate that no, it's not really that. So it's important that documentation be preserved and be prepared to respond when there is this question that comes up.
For people who are nursing, they usually say there is something they said in the nursing field. If it was not documented, it did not happen.
I've
So
heard
that
that. Yeah, so I've definitely heard that.
if you did not
in the
if you did
medical
not document it, that mean it didn't happen. That's the reason why at the law office of David Liam Jr. PA we document everything.
Is that if it wasn't charted, it didn't happen?
Oh, if it wasn't charted, it didn't happen. Yes,
Okay.
that's the reason we document everything. We document phone call. We document email. We document. Document, because you never know. Like you just mentioned, a misunderstanding can become a complaint. And then now, if you don't have any document to support what you are saying, guess what? It didn't happen. We have over 30 questions people sent out for us for me to ask you. So we're gonna see if we can go through all of them in one show in 30 minutes,
I
which is
doubt that.
impossible. But let's see what we can do. So someone asked a question. What should someone do immediately after receiving a notice for a license complaint? And then also the same person mentioned, what right do a licensed professionals have during an investigations?
Okay, so they may have asked what rights do I have, but we generalized it to licensed professionals in general. So dealing with the first question, what to do immediately, obviously you're going to need to read the document thoroughly and make note of all deadlines that are required to take action because these timeframes are very limited, and if you don't act within the time allotted, you may lose rights, and you may lose all of your rights as a
We've
professional.
seen it happen.
Yeah, so another piece of advice would be to avoid discussing the matter or discussing that case publicly. You're going to continue acting professionally, and, maintain your professional composure, and at that point, you definitely need to consider having an attorney that's experienced in professional licensure defense to discuss the case with you. Now, in terms of what your rights are, a lot of that's going to be very specific to the laws that are applicable and governing your situation. So, we're dealing with in this show a very broad variety of professional licenses. Some may be public servants as well that have their professional licenses involved as part of the public service. So we have to look at everything that applies. So it's very case specific in terms of what your rights will be, but as a general rule, you should have the right to due process, which goes back to our earlier show back on the 4th of July, or right after the 4th of July, which is, first of all, procedural due process, the right to notice about any investigation or prospective disciplinary action, and the right to be heard regarding that. Now that may take the form of a grievance process in some scenarios. It may take the form of an appearance before some board, but it's very case specific. We have to determine what is the due process that you're entitled to.
In the previous question we asked you, you're stating that we refrain from posting in social media. So that's where the question I'm about to
It's
ask
like a
you.
growing theme.
I know people like to tell people what's going on in their life. I think they are more interesting in the click and the like than really being professional. So the question is, can something I post on social media can affect my license? Yes, sorry. Let me repeat the question. Can something that I post on social media really affect my license, my professional license?
And I'm sure the audience is all out there guessing and saying at the same time. The answer is yes, it certainly can.
We are seeing it, a lot of people losing their license, getting fired, or having license being under investigation because of one thing they post on social media.
Yeah, well, so here's the thing with that, everyone, still wants to recognize the fact that they have freedom of expression, etc. But there are still consequences which may flow from the exercise of that right to free expression. So we're in a territory and in a time where that you're communicating and being a reflection of the licensing authority. And so, yes, depending upon that content of what was communicated, it may adversely impact the license.
I say to people all the time, freedom of speech is not freedom of free consequences. There is thing that can happen to you, and then I usually say that to people who have license. You have too much to lose. You have to evaluate to see how much you have to lose before you even post, or before you even react in
Yeah,
social
counting the
media.
cost is a good idea. And
Counting
I
the
think that's
cost.
very good advice.
Exactly. Counting the cost is just looking at it, say, it's not for me to answer. Let's keep moving.
Yeah, usually it's not worth it.
Exactly. Definitely. I have to answer. I have to agree with that. The next question somebody asks, if I am arrested but never been convicted, can the licensure board still investigating me, my license?
Well, the fact that there was no conviction does not mean that there would not be an investigation.
Yeah.
Let me just say it that way. And so, if we're just talking about investigating, understand that a criminal allegation and the authority for investigating the criminal allegation may well rest in law enforcement, but you're still a holder of a license and subject to all of the applicable law and requirements of the agency or department which issues that license, which has an independent power and authority to investigate. And then the standards may also be different because obviously in a criminal prosecution, the standard is proof beyond reasonable doubt, whereas in the civil side here, or licensure side, the usual standard may be clear and convincing evidence, or some standard even less than that. So, yes, there may still be an investigation, even though there was no conviction.
So yeah, and then we see it happen as well.
Well,
Some
yeah,
people
there are all kinds of
yeah.
examples. Now, the other thing I would say about that, though, is sometimes what ends up happening, taking out the investigation by the agency or what have you, is that employers sometimes are confused, private employers and what have you, by the mere fact that someone was arrested and holds a particular license. I won't name any particular one, but we've had this issue multiple times in the past, and they believe that the mere fact that there was an arrest, that means that they're going to lose their license and therefore it can't continue in employment. And sometimes we have to, educate those employers about what the actual applicable rule or law is, just by citing to it and pointing to it, and you see that the conviction is required in order for the agency to take that adverse action.
Before we go to our nugget questions, I know everybody are looking for the nugget questions. Let's ask one of the last question. Is what kind of conduct most commonly result in disciplinary action?
Well, there's a wide variety of actions that can result in discipline, but some of those that we see most often are allegations of fraud, misrepresentation. On the more severe end, obviously, criminal conduct, criminal arrest could invoke. Then acts of negligence may result in a complaint, which may result in a disciplinary action. And then there are ethical violations of the code of conduct. And then sometimes some professionals to deal with the substance abuse
That's
issues,
one
and
of the
so
things we see
substance
often
abuse
as
is
well.
very common. And on the lighter side, issues related to education, the continuing education requirement, credentials, things of that nature, some technical requirements as far as regular updates or renewing, those can all bring in potential disciplinary actions from
Yeah.
these agencies.
Every case is different. You'd be surprised to see what can bring disciplinary action. So again, contact an attorney. If you know that a complaint is being filed against you, it's highly recommended for you to contact an attorney who can help you determine and dissect the situation before it get too much. So let's go to the nugget question of the day. You ready for the nugget question? Again.
Maybe. Let's see.
For the nugget question, remember guys, if you call the office at 904-307-3888 and give us the answer, we will give you a gift card of $10. In the meantime, we'd like to say to people, for all of our teachers listening to us today, we are giving you a gift basket and a $200 gift card to teachers for the beginning of the school year. So you have to nominate the teacher that you feel like deserve that. I know that that basket and as well as that $200 is not enough for all of the hard work you are doing for our children, but we would like to show you the law office of David Liam Jr. PA would like to nominate a teacher who works super hard for for our children, and then would like to give a gift card and as well as a basket to you. And also, we have for parents out there who's having a hard time with school supply, just give us a call. The law office of David Liam Jr. PA will be glad to help you with a book bag, some notepad, whatever we can do to help you for the school year for your children. So thank you. Again, the phone number is below. Call us. We'll be glad to help. Are you ready for the nugget question, Mr. Him?
Well, let's see.
The nugget question of the day someone asked. Can off-duty behavior affect a professional license?
The answer to that, I think, is in most cases yes, when there's a professional involved. And it depends on the behavior and it depends on the license. But in many cases, your conduct is not simply limited to what you do while
You're on the clock.
on the clock. That's a good way to put it. So things you do off the clock certainly can adversely impact your license or certificate, and that I think is pretty much true for everyone, especially consider an arrest that occurs or conduct that has
Happen
nothing
off
to
the
do
clock.
with off the clock, exactly, nothing to do with your provision of your the services.
I usually tell people your license doesn't have a time clock. You're always is it 24 hours. You need to watch your behavior when you hold a license.
Sounds like good advice.
I know. Thank you. I appreciate that. Rapid fire question.
Yes.
Are you ready for them?
Yes. First
Let's
question?
do it.
Yes.
Okay. What the most valuable thing a professional own?
Their reputation.
I agree. Which is easy to lose when you have a license.
It is. Your
What your reputation?
Your reputation. I
Yep,
would say
that's
it's an
easy
easy
to
thing
lose.
to lose. When you,
Documentation or memory?
documentation all day long.
Okay. What is the biggest mistake licensed professional make?
Maybe ignoring a complaint.
Ignore the complaint. Yes, I would agree. What is can one bad decision ruin your entire career?
Without question. Yes.
Okay. A delete social media post is gone forever.
No. False.
Ethic or experience?
I'm sorry. Ethics beats out experience. Yes.
Email or phone call?
The email is documented, so I'll go with the email over the
Okay.
phone call.
Which is harder to rebuild, your finance or your professional reputation?
My reputation is always harder.
Okay. Should professional carry liability or malpractice insurance if available at their profession?
Yes.
I agree. Finish the sentence. Protect your license because.
It matters.
Awesome. Thank you very much. That was a good rapid fire question. We are at the end of our show. But you know what I really want to do, David? Next time, let's. I know that we talk about family law. What about if we go by one of family law? I would like next time to just talk about dissolution of marriage and then all of the in and out of dissolution of marriage. What do you think about that?
Sounds good to me. What do the viewers think?
It's up to them. So I think next time, let's go with dissolution of marriage. I want to take the time to say thank you to all of our viewers for taking your time, your precious time to spend it with us. Some of you listen to us at your job, in your living room, dining room, wherever you're listening to us at. We want to take the time to say thank you for allowing us to come to your living room and give you those information. Like we mentioned earlier, those information are just for education purposes only. You need to hire an attorney in order for you to dissect what's going on. Until next time, we look forward for the next episode. Thank you and have a good day.
Our mission is what we do, fighting for your